Joe Joyce. He'll be taking on former champion Joseph Parker, like I say, this July. What do you think is the likely outcome of this one?
But this fight is definitely a step up for Joyce. He would be coming to this fight 13-0 with 12 knockouts. He's 6'6" with an 80-inch wingspan, pretty long arms. He has wins over Carlos Takam, which he stopped. He also has a win over Daniel Dubois, who I believe in that fight, that's where Dubois had an orbital fracture, and it was a very impressive win for Joyce. He's going to be taking on Joseph Parker, 30-2 with 21 knockouts, 6'4" with 76-inch wingspan. He has 2 wins over Derek Chisora. The first fight was, sort of close enough where they thought a rematch was necessary. He also has losses with Dillian White and Anthony Joshua. And he also has a win over Carlos Takam, but it wasn't a knockout victory. And a win over Andy Ruiz, which actually looks better today than it did when it did happen. So when in this fight, Joe Joyce, he's a very intimidating presence, tall fighter, uses his jab, he keeps coming. He seems to be good at fighting at one pace, where it can be a pretty fast pace. Not really like he's throwing lots of punches, but he can punch with you. No,
my bad.
I'll say that he has pretty level stamina, where he's not getting tired. He's not like he's fighting at a pace where he doesn't really get tired. He's not throwing 2 punches, and he's going to keep on throwing the same amount of punches. He's just not a fast guy. He's very slow. Okay. He has slow hands, but he throws those hands. He throws those slow hands. They normally always land. He has a nice jab, even though it's slow. He always gets to that spot. Like sometimes when I'm watching him, I'm like, man, I can duck right over those punches he throws. I can see him coming from a mile away, but he keeps throwing those punches, and he's able to time them correctly where guys can't get out that way. And he's very good at using his reach. Now, Joseph Parker, this is going to be an interesting matchup because Parker has a strong chin. He always comes to fight. He has a wealth of experience. He's been in there with who's who of heavyweights. Joe Joyce is probably not even top 3 best opponents he's faced up to this point on paper until Joyce, shows us that he's more. So it's going to be an interesting fight. For my pick in this fight, it's going to be dependent on a few things. It's going to be dependent on how strong Joseph Parker's chin is, because Joyce does have power, and eventually he's going to land. And Parker, even though he does well boxing, he can do a lot of things like a all-around boxer. He throws decent combinations. He does work off the jab. So I'm pretty sure he can outbox Joyce in spots, but I'm curious to how that reach is going to play out, because Parker did struggle with some of like Anthony Joshua's reach and some of his movements. Now Joyce doesn't necessarily have that particular speed, even though I don't consider Anthony Joshua the fastest guy, but Joyce is he doesn't have that. He's not gifted with hand speed. So this is going to be a firefight. The way I see it, I think Parker's experience might be too much, and I think that Parker is going to win a decision, and I would say a split decision. It could be a close fight. I don't think anyone's getting stopped. I think Joyce is going to try to stop Parker, but Parker is going to prove to be too tough, and then it's going to be a split decision victory for Joseph Parker. He's going to be in spots. He's going to be fast enough to get to his target quicker than Joyce is.
Yeah, I think that in this fight you got 2 guys that. Well, let me put it like this. One thing I can predict in this fight is that the press conference is going to be a snooze fest. These are 2 good guys. I mean, they're really nice, These guys are fighting for the number 1 spot in the WBO, so I'm assuming that the winner will get a crack at either Alexander Usyk or AJ, because both of them right now are 1-2. So, that's the reason why the fight was set up. This is going to be the first time Joe Joyce is fighting somebody who's not old. You know what I mean? He does have guys on his resume like not old, because Dubois was kind of green. But the other guys that he's defeated, like Stavern was past it. You had Brian Jennings, who was past it. And Parker, like you said, he's faced the who's who, so he's more tested, right? And these guys are different. The only thing that they have in common is both of them are durable. They both have really good chins. Joyce is very durable, such a big, huge heavyweight, like you say, 6'6". The interesting thing is that he's 6 years older than Parker, although Parker has all of this experience, which is very interesting. I guess he started his career pretty late. As I stated before, to me, Joe Joyce is a poor man's version of George Foreman, the old George Foreman, heavy-handed in the calm nature that he has. But, he's as slow as rush hour traffic. You understand what I'm saying? And he has a good amateur pedigree. So he brings a set of skills. He just seems like he's getting slower and slower every time that I see him fight, And Parker is just the opposite. Very quick heavyweight, punches and bunches at his best. And I think that that's how this fight is going to play out. I think that Parker actually is going to school Joe Joyce with his speed and experience. And Joe Joyce is just going to be plodding forward. He's never faced somebody like a Joseph Parker in his pro career. Now, he did face Alexander Usyk in that World Series fight that they had. And to me, that was the closest thing that he will have faced. But that was about 10, 12 years ago. So I think that, like I said, I think Parker will school him. And only thing Parker just doesn't have to do, just don't stand in front of Joyce for an extended period of time. So I think he's going to be able to see everything that Joyce is throwing, be able to rat-a-tat-tat him, move around. And the other thing is, the only way I can see Joyce having success or getting the victory is if Parker just stays there a little bit too long, or if he gets tired, because I think he's going to have all type of success against Joyce. It's just a matter, are you going to be able to do it for 12 rounds against a big, strong guy like Joe Joyce? He's very durable. But even if Joyce gets him in trouble, I just don't think that he has enough speed. I don't think he's as accurate enough. And I don't think he has the killer instinct to finish a top-level heavyweight. So I have Joseph Parker, 12-round decision, relatively wide.
This is kind of tough for me because on one hand, although, like you said, although Joyce is only 13-0 at 36 years old, he competed in several Olympics, and so he turned pro late. And so in a way, he's a little bit less shot-worn than someone like a Parker who is 30, but he has 32 pro fights under his belt. And I think that kind of because of his age, Joyce kind of is who he is, and I think because of Parker's ceiling, he's kind of who he is. And although he has, at his level, he's faced kind of like a who's who at heavyweight, he also has looked pretty underwhelming against lesser opposition. Like when he fought Junior Fa, it was kind of like a snooze fest, and it wasn't necessarily an impressive victory. And so, I don't know how much longer Joyce has as a professional boxer, but I also wonder, even if at 36, if this is going to be his fight to step up and show who he is. And I do think he's going to trouble him with his power. And I think this is like a 60-40 fight. And I'm going to kind of go with my gut here. I'm going to say that Joyce gets the decision here. I think this is going to be a fight where he steps up and Parker is going to look how he's looked in all of these other fights.
Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.